the question is kind of a perennial question. Someone says if you become Krishna conscious, you develop all good qualities. Someone says, but you need to develop good qualities to become Krishna conscious. You can't just wait, and you have to work on yourself. And then the person says, no, that's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is just do bhakti, and then you don't have to work on yourself. The bhakti itself is working on yourself. They're both right, but what I find so interesting is one of the places Prabhupada quotes this verse is the Nectar of Devotion. And he gives the example that a devotee doesn't have to try to be vegetarian, because when you become a devotee, you become vegetarian. So that's an example of how all good qualities develop. And I listened to a lecture, and Prabhupada explained this whole point. And he was making the point that someone may work on their good qualities, a non-devotee, or may so-called have good qualities, but at the same time you'll find that they're eating meat, they're drinking alcohol, they're having illicit sex. So the good qualities a devotee has are sattvic qualities. And a lot of people have good qualities, but they're not really sattvic or so-called good qualities. So Prabhupada's saying, if you become a devotee, you'll become sattvic, so you're not going to have abortion, you're going to stop. So like the big things, right? It doesn't mean automatically you won't get upset about something. But the big things, the abortion, the sex outside of marriage, intoxication, like that. So, but what I find interesting is that Prabhupada has given this example that when you become a devotee, you become vegetarian. But when you take initiation, you make a vow to not eat meat. And that appears to be a contradiction, because if by being a devotee, automatically I become a vegetarian, automatically I become sattvic, why would I have to take a vow not to eat meat? Because not eating meat is a byproduct of my bhakti. So I would only have to take a vow to chant 16 rounds, or maybe take a vow to read Bhagavatam every day, or maybe take a vow to do kirtan every day, something like that. Why would I have to take a vow to avoid something negative? I think this demonstrates the other side of the argument, that you do have to work to balance the scales. If I want to go ahead with my bhakti and I'm eating meat, it's going to pull my bhakti down. So I have to make sure that I'm not eating meat, so my bhakti will not be interrupted or not be contaminated. So it's necessary. So I take the vow just to ensure. And so what does it mean when I take the vow? It means when I go to the store, I read labels, because sometimes things have animal products in. And you wouldn't suspect that this product would have animal products in, and you find, oh, eggs. Why do they put eggs in this? Salad dressing. I don't know. They don't need it, but they think they do. And traditionally it has eggs, has always had eggs, so they use it. So by saying, I'm not going to eat meat, basically one of the things you're promising your spiritual master is, I will read the labels before I eat. Because ideally you're cooking everything yourself. So you are making an effort. And then the other example I think is important is the cleaning of the Gundicha temple. And the example was, as you're cleaning the temple, you're cleaning your heart. And in the purport there, Prabhupada talks about all the unwanted weeds in the heart. And so many weeds were cleaned or picked in the Gundicha cleaning. So Prabhupada said, you have to pick these weeds. So that means you have to do some work. But my personal experience, and I think we can agree our philosophy is, if you're in Krishna consciousness, then naturally you can pick the weeds. It's very easy to pick the weeds. If you're not in Krishna consciousness, it's more difficult to pick the weeds. So picking the weeds is part of our process. But if you're Krishna conscious, it's easy to pick the weeds. It may not always be natural that the weeds will go away, but it's much easier to pick the weeds. So if you're a devotee, you will develop all good qualities. It doesn't mean that you won't have to make some effort. Obviously, sadhana bhakti is a big effort, and clearing out anarthas is an effort. But part of the effort is the positive, doing the positive service in sadhana, and part of the effort is isolating those anarthas, becoming aware of them, and not acting on them. So generally when I answer this question, I say that with the strength of bhakti, if you have anarthas, they will go away, but at least don't act on them now. Because if you act on them now, it's going to inhibit the process of sadhana. It's going to inhibit your ability to chant properly. And when you inhibit your ability to chant properly, you inhibit your ability to overcome those anarthas. So there has to be some balance. They They work together. But without bhakti, then how are we going to overcome any of these? And the last thing that I've often said is, when we develop the qualities of a Vaishnava, these are transcendental qualities. So a lot of people have good qualities within sattva guna or within the other modes of nature. They might be humble, they might be meek, they might be tolerant, but they may not believe in God. So it's not really a divine quality. It's a material quality. You could say it's a reflection of humility or a reflection of tolerance. But sometimes people tolerate things they shouldn't even tolerate. So you can have perverted tolerance or perverted humility. You're very meek. Like you're very. I like to use this example. You're very generous. So you're very generous and compassionate. So during the holidays, you give out free hamburgers. So I think that explains everything, right? Your so-called good qualities, you give out free hamburgers. And how can that be good? Because you're killing a cow. So that's where we run into the problem of non-devotees having good qualities. This person's very generous. He gives out hamburgers. He gives out free bottles of wine at Christmas. So, when you're a devotee, you don't run into that problem of developing those so-called good qualities. But you develop the qualities of demigods, as the verse says. You develop divine qualities. Hare Krishna.